Sarah's Stamping Retreat. Today I'm going to create 5 cards combining the Expressions in Ink suite. So I'm just going to use the Ephemera pack and the papers today because I don't want to combine them with this stamp set today. I've done another video where I have combined it with this stamp set, so I'll link that below, but I didn't want to use it in a different way today, so I'm going to combine it with this Free as a Bird stamp set, which I really love. So just to show you this a bit up close, you can see the 2 green pieces are the pieces that I've used the most. So you get 2 of each of these sheets in the pack, so you get 12 sheets of paper in a pack, but I don't actually have a full sheet of either of the green pieces, so I'm just going to show you the partial sheet. So you can see all the gold foiling on there, and we've got that on the back. We've got the gold stripes with that on the back. We've got orange flowers with the gold foiling with that green pattern on the back. Then we've got this gold foiled pink sheet with this on the back. And we've got this green piece with the foiling with this on the back. And then we've got these kind of like abstract flowers with the gold foiled leaves with that on the back. And then in the Ephemera pack you get a pack of iridescent adhesive back sequins. You get a lot more than this. I've just used these for classes. So there's actually 18 here, but you actually get a pack of 100. So there's a lot more than that. It's like a square. And then you get 5 sheets of these. So on each sheet you get these foliage pieces. I hope you can see that on the camera. You get these 5 foliage pieces. You get 2 of these kind of hexagons and 2 of these kind of almost elongated hexagons as well, and this piece here. And the other thing I think is quite nice to use on these is these extra bits, because you can see where I just popped this out here, this is technically the waist. I think it'd be nice to make a kind of like geometric background using these waist pieces, and then you'll have like a gold foiled geometric background as well. So then for my first card I've got a 5-inch square polished pink card base. So that's a 10-inch by 5-inch piece of polished pink cardstock that I've scored and folded in half. And then I've got this piece of the paper, the pattern paper, is 4 3/4 inches square. And then I'm going to layer on top of that this piece, which is 3 inches square, and this which is 2 3/4 inches square. So that's polished pink and basic white. And then those bits will use separate. Just to note as well, these gold pieces of ephemera are white on the back. I'm going to use them on the gold side today because I think that's really pretty, but they are white, so you could colour them any colour or use them white by using the back as well. So I've just got this really scrappy piece of basic white cardstock, and I'm just going to use this bird from the stamp set. And I'm just going to stamp him in Memento black ink. And then I'm going to bring in my blends. So I've got my cinnamon cider duo. So the blends come as a light and a dark of each shade, so that they blend nicely. Then I've just got the dark daffodil delight, and I've got the calypso coral dark and light blend as well. So I'm going to start with the dark cinnamon cider. I'm just using this kind of almost brush nib end. There's this chisel nib end as well. I'm going to use the brush one for now. And I'm just putting a bit dark just where I think the darkest feathers would be. I'm just kind of using these lines to kind of guide me. And then I'm going to use the dark calypso coral. I'm going to give him a bit of a calypso coral belly, so I'm just going to do the bottom of his belly in the dark bit, and I'm just going to do just under his wing as well. So I'm just going to go in with the light calypso coral and colour its belly, and then I'm going to go in with the light cinnamon cider, just colour the rest. And then I'm just going to do Daffodil Delight just on his beak. So I'm just going to grab my scissors and I'm just going to cut the little bird out. I'm actually just going to cut the kind of almost like bit of ground off. So I'm just going to cut around his feet. And you'll see I'm just leaving a very small white border around the edge. And the other thing I'm going to do is just heat emboss a sentiment onto this polished pink piece of cardstock. So I'm going to use this thank you sentiment, and I'll probably use that for most of the cards that we make today. I'm going to use my Versamark ink. I'm just going to stamp this here. I'm just going to restamp that because it didn't stamp quite as nicely as I wanted it to. I think I pressed a bit hard. I'm going to pour on some gold embossing powder. And as I always say, this is the beauty of having a really lovely quality fine embossing powder, is that it picks up even those really fine letters. Whereas if you had an embossing powder that was coarser, then you wouldn't get the detail in the letters. So let's just switch on my heat tool. So do you see how beautifully that's embossed? So I'm just going to cut that down. So there's my teeny little sentiment. So then I can just glue all this together. So I'm just kind of trying to really lightly put a little bit of glue on this. I obviously don't want very much because it's so delicate. And I'm going to use some dimensionals to add my bird. Let's put some dimensionals behind here too. So then what I'm going to do is, I want this to pop up here, but obviously half of it's going to be over here and half of it's going to be over here. So under the TH I want one dimensional, and under the OU I want two dimensionals stacked, so that then it's a level sentiment. So then I can pop that across there. And I'm actually just going to add just a little bit of the polished pink over here, just to tie the bird into the card better. So I'm just kind of putting the polished pink over the top of the Calypso coral bits. I don't think you actually need Calypso coral for this. I would just do polished pink. And tie in better. I'm just going to go back over with the lighter one just to make that blend a bit better. There we go. So for my next card, I've got an A6 top folding card. So that's 4 1/8 inches by 11 3/4 inches, scored and folded in half that way, but I'm going to use it this angle. And then this piece is the same size as my card front, so that's from the DSP. I've got this piece, and I'm just going to stamp the large bird stamp onto our piece of basic white cardstock. So as a general rule, I tend to use the basic white cardstock for anything that I need to cut out or layers on a card. I tend to use the thick basic white cardstock if I'm making card blanks, because it's obviously thicker, or boxes or anything like that that involves a bit of structure. So obviously on the other one I used the Calypso coral initially and then coloured over with the polished pink. You could carry on and use polished pink on this one as well, but I am going to use the Calypso coral on this one because I want it to tie back with that green. And I think the Calypso coral is just slightly less in your face. So again, I'm going to use cinnamon cider, calypso coral, and just the dark daffodil delight. I'll use that for the beaks. And you can really use the kind of shading marks on here to kind of guide you as to where you should put the dark on the cinnamon cider, and you can obviously put the light elsewhere. So I'm going to use leave their bellies again for the calypso coral. So now I'm also going to do the flowers in calypso coral, so I'm just going to stick the dark in the centre and the light around the outside. So then I forgot I'd need a colour for the leaves, so I'm just going to use the shaded spruce that matches back with the paper that we're using. And it will tie nicely together. I've put on a bit of shading with the dark, and now I'm just going to leave with the light. Just gave me a bit of a Christmas vibe putting that on there. I think if you made the pinks more red, that might look like quite a nice Christmas card. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to heat emboss our thank you sentiment in this bottom corner here. I'm going to do it in gold again. So there we go, that's all melted now. Let's just glue it all together. So let's put some little foam pads behind this. That's my next card completed. So for my next card, I'm going to use the flower stamp. I'm going to stamp a load of flowers. I think I'm going to start off with 8 and see how I go. I might need to stamp some more afterwards. So I'm just going to use up some of these corners of my cardstock. So I'm just going to cut them out anyway. And then I'm just going to colour them with my polished pink stamping pens. So I'm just using the dark just on these shaded bits and in the middle. so there are my stamped and cut flowers. Then I've got an A6 polished pink card blank, so that is 8 1/4 by 5 7/8 inches, scored and folded in half. And I'm just going to cut the front off here so that the front then measures 3 inches across, so it's going to be slightly shorter. And I'm actually going to do that just in 2 pieces because I want a 1/4 inch strip, so I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch off first. And then I'm going to cut it down to 3 inches, so I can line up this score line with the 3 inch mark on here. Now I'm going to cut that piece off. And this piece measures 3 inches by 5 7/8 inches, and I'm just going to glue that on that front panel. Now I'm going to glue this strip just along that edge. So then with these, I'm just going to scrunch them up just a little bit, just so that they're not entirely flat. Just gives a bit more dimension to the card. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to snip up these leaves from the Ephemera pack, because I don't want them as clumps because they look too bulky for the card. So I'm just going to snip them up into pieces. And then I'm going to glue those down this edge. Then I can just chop the little bits that are hanging off the bottom and the top. And then I'm just going to heat emboss our thank you just up the side here. So I'm just going to grab my glue dots and I'm going to pop all these flowers just along this edge. And then I think I'm going to go full on bling and put some of these sequins in the middle of the flowers as well. And that's my third card finished. So then for this next card, I'm just going to use these birds again. And we're just going to stamp that one here. And I'm going to colour it in the same colours I used last time. Let's cut these birds out again. Then I've got a top folding basic white thick card blank, just the same as the one I used in the previous card. And then I'm just going to chop down the front just so that it's 4 inches long. So I'm going to line up my score line with this 4-inch line and just chop up off that front piece. So then I'm going to use my card this way around. So I just want to use these. These are the leftover bits of some of the ephemera. So you can see, for example, where I've got this here, I've also got a bit of waste in the middle, just like I showed you at the beginning. So it's those bits of waste that I'm using here. So I think we can make a nice pattern out of those. So I'm just going to put those on this little panel here. You can see I'm using different sizes of pieces, so these are just pieces from different elements in the pack. It's all the little waste bits. And then this piece, I've just trimmed a slither. You can see it's just under 1/4 inch. I just trimmed a slither off the side of the ephemera pack. You can see it's this one that I trimmed it off, so I just trimmed off that side piece there. And then you know that the gold matches exactly with what you've got on there. And I'm just going to glue that just along here. I'm just going to fold that over so I can just make sure. You can see I've just got a little tiny edge showing just along that line. I just want to make sure it looks straight so that when the card's closed it looks nice. And I'm going to trim that end off, and then I'm just going to just glue this piece. So this piece is 4 1/8 inches by 4 inches, so it just fits perfectly on that front panel. And then I've just got these. So this one is 4 1/4 by 2 1/2, and this is 4 inches by 2 1/4 inches. So that's a piece of Calypso coral, and that is gold foil sheet. And then I'm just going to add my birds to that. And I think actually I might just heat emboss my thanks just in this bottom corner before I do that. And that's heat embossed on there. So I can add my birds with some foam pads. Now glue that to my gold piece. And then, because this opens like this, I just want to put dimensionals just on this part, so I don't want any dimensionals on this part. So I'm just going to turn that over. Now I'm going to just pop that there because I don't want any further this side to that. So that's my card finished. You can see when you open up you can write here, but you've got kind of a pretty inside as well. Right, so for the final card I'm just going to stamp 3 of these flowers that we used earlier, and I'm going to colour them in the same way we did earlier as well, with the polished pink pens. So let's cut these out again. So I'm just scrunching these up a little bit just to give a bit of dimension. So then I've got all these pieces which I just want to arrange in this corner. So I want them there, but I want the thanks to be heat embossed in the middle. So I'm just going to use this as a guide of where I want the heat embossing to go. So let's just heat emboss this sentiment just here. then I've got a side folding card again, an A6 one, so just the same as the other ones that we've been using. And I'm just going to glue this piece of DSP onto the front. See, that's the same size as the front of the card. So I'm just going to glue all these pieces on. So these are all just from the Ephemera pack. So I'm just kind of making a cluster. So then I've just got this little piece that's left over from the strip that we used on the other piece, the strip that we cut off the Ephemera pack. So I've just cut a little tail end in that, and then I'm just going to glue that under here. I'm just trying to create as much interest as possible. So I'm just going to pop these flowers on with glue dots. And then let's just pop some of these sequins in the centre of the flowers, just to finish that card off. So there's my final card finished, so let's bring in the other cards too. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's projects. If you did, I'd appreciate you clicking like below, and you can also press subscribe if you'd like to see future videos. If you press the bell button and select all, YouTube will also notify you when I've got a new video available. All of the products that we've used for today's cards are listed in the description below, and there's also a host code there, so if you pop the host code into your basket before you check out, then I'll send you a free gift after the end of the month. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon.